All right, so I am going to show you how to make files print ready. And the first thing you need to know for that is how to get into our course in Canvas. I might need to log in again. And it's the midterm, it's a good time to remind you of these things. So you want to use your Canvas course. That's where there are written assignment sheets for everything. That's where all your grades are, all my comments on your projects are. For Digital Art 1 or Digital Art 2. And where I want you to go is links, right? So we have the first day stuff. That's where you'll find your supplies. That's where you'll find the sizes of the mats to get for our midterm critique after spring break. Assignment sheets, this is where you can find one-page descriptions of everything you're asked to do. And I did upload the logo one, so it reflects what we're doing, including upcoming assignments. And then links, this is where people are kind of forgetting because we just get used to having computers remember for us. But if you ever want to check the in-class tutorials, it's this NLC Arts Lab YouTube channel. Our photo bucket, of course, we use a lot, but now we're going to use Dropbox. And it's really the first time we've used it since the very beginning of class. So if you click on that and if you look at these options, it's the same kind of login that we're used to. Mine's already logged in. But you'll see this. You'll see a class Dropbox file. You're going to click on Digital Art Class Files. And you're going to see at the very top something called a folder called Flattened TIFF Files to Print. And it's filled with lots of different folders. You are going to create your own folder. So you do that, and you can do that right now if you like, wherever you are, because you can access Dropbox anywhere there's an internet connection. You're going to say New Folder. You're going to type in your name. And I'll just say, I already have a file, so I'll say Instructor for Spring 17. So why don't we do this? Why don't we put SP17 in front of ours? The reason I'm keeping some of the old ones is because we have Digital 2 students that are going to want to add on to their portfolios from last semester. This is where our print portfolios go. So I've created a new folder. There it is. If I open it up, there's nothing in it. So I'm going to add my print-ready files, and print-ready files should be the ones that have PR in front of them. So this one is print-ready. If I double-click it, it will open up in Preview, not in Photoshop. But it is a TIFF file. And it is saved at full resolution. So if I go to Tools and say, this is just in Preview, Adjust Size, it will tell me it is 8 by 10 inches by 350 pixels per inch, which is 29.4 megabytes. It's not a small file, but it's as small as it can be for as high quality as it is. If I compare that TIFF file to the PSD file, that PSD file, that's a bad example, is 16.5 megabytes. And that's because it hasn't rasterized all the effects yet, because it's just applying them to a vector. But the TIFF is what I can print, and it will never lose quality. Okay, so it needs to be a flattened TIFF file. That one's already ready, so I can drag and drop it into my folder. And you'll see it upload, and it shouldn't take very long. Do not drag and drop PSD files into here. They'll take a long time, and it's just wasting processing time to print those, because we'd have to flatten those first anyway, to print them cleanly. Why do you print from flattened TIFF files? So that the printer never has to pause and buffer, because you want it to print cleanly from beginning to end with no breaks, so that the inks dry all at the same time and all melt together the way they're supposed to in the expensive paper. Okay, now how do I make my other files print ready? I have to go back to them, and let's say I want to do my landscape. I'm going to go back to my highest quality Photoshop file. And then based on the resolution it is, I can figure out how big I want to make it. So if this is what I want to print, I kind of like the figure in there. This is really assignment 3. I just never renamed it. So I'm going to say, which is bad on me. It's a bad thing. So now to get to my assignment 1, I have to turn off certain layers. But anyway, so here we are. If I go to image size, I'll see that this is 16.8 inches by 11.7 inches by 350. So that is high enough resolution to print 8 by 10, but it's also high enough resolution to print 11 by 14, which is the next standard size up. But the problem is this is bigger than 11 by 14. So I have to figure out how do I want it to fit within an 11 by 14 mat. Because the next size up is 16 by 20, and this is not big enough to fill a 16 by 20 window. So what do? First, I'm going to uncheck resample. So I keep my original pixels no matter what. And then I'm going to play around. If I make its width 14, then it's 14 inches by 9.7, and it's still got plenty of resolution. So the limiting factor is the width. If I do that, fine. And now if I say canvas size to the size that it's actually going to fill the mat, I want my canvas size to be 11 by 14. But that's the problem. If I print it at 14 by 9 point something, this would be the mat, and I would have a stripe of white on both sides of it, right? And that's not great. So what's better is I go to image size, I have resample unchecked, and I make it 13 inches. So I'll have a 1/2 inch rim of white on the left and right side. And now I go to image canvas size, and I say 14 inches wide, 11 inches tall. Good. And now I can say layer, flatten image, and that's what it would look like inside my mat. So pretend this black is the mat, this is the white of the paper, this is the image. Does that make sense? And it's more than 300 pixels per inch, so it's printable. So if that looks good to me, I've already flattened it. Do not save it as your Photoshop file, because then it would flatten all of your layers. Instead, say save as, put PR in front of it, print ready, save it to the desktop so you can find it easily, and save it as a TIFF with LZW compression. All right, then you can close it. So let's compare that. My TIFF file, it's 37.5 megabytes. The PSD it came from is 523 megabytes. So I want to print something that's only 37 megabytes and not print something that's over 500 megabytes. Because one's going to make the printer go real slow and not print it as high quality as it could. So that's why we need to make them print ready. And it can be difficult because some of our sizes, we need to make them fit within that matte window in a way that looks good. And I can certainly help you with that before we print them. My goal is to not have any bad prints, right? But to help with that, you want to set them up ahead of time. The biggest thing is uncheck resample image under image size. A few of you will forget, and you'll make them way too small, and you'll lose a lot of resolution. Okay, so how do I upload it? Well, I go to Dropbox, and I take my PR file, and I drag and drop it in. How many do you need to print? How many print files do you need? 3. Yep, 3 for your midterm. So I'm almost all the way there. They can be exercises too, as long as they're high enough resolution. So I might go to my exercises and look at my shape composition and open up my PSD, because that's my largest resolution file. I go to image size, and I see it's 8.54 by 12 by 350. That's not a good candidate for 11 by 14. That's a better candidate for 8 by 10. So I have resample unchecked. I'm going to make its width 8. And is that good? Will that fit on an 8 by 10? Well, there'd be a problem because it would cut off the height. So you have to find the limiting factor. So if I make it 8 inches wide, it's too tall. So the limiting factor is the height. So I could go to 10 and I say okay, and then I go to image canvas size. Whoops, image canvas size, and I make it 8 by 10. But you're going to see a familiar problem. Then it's going to give me a stripe on 2 sides. So what's the better thing to do? First, I'm going to flatten it because I have a lot of things going off the edge. Then I'm going to say image size, have resample turned off. I'm going to make it by 9 inches, so just 1 inch under the limit. It's plenty of resolution. And then I go to canvas size and I say 8 by 10. And I'll get to see exactly what it will look like in my map. And it's above 300 pixels per inch, so it will print just fine. When is too much resolution? If you're above 550 pixels per inch, that's excessive. And that will take the printer too long. So then you can resample it a little bit lower. But I don't think any of us are going to have that problem. As long as it's above 300, it will print at full quality. All right, so then I save it as a TIFF file with PR in front to the desktop as a TIFF with LZW turned on. And of course, if I wanted to make any edits or changes before I printed it from our portfolio, I would do that in the PSD. Okay, now that I have that, I can upload it, my PR TIFF, to Dropbox, and now they are ready to print. I would go back to the back printers, and I would open up the Dropbox, which the Dropbox files are actually housed on those computers. I would just open it up and print it right from the Dropbox file. And then any print settings I save, I would save back into this. So I could print them repeatedly from this portfolio at the same quality. All right, that's all there is. In order to help you out, to remember all that stuff, I'll have this video up in YouTube, but also just download these instructions to make things print ready. You have different sizes. 8 by 10 is the most common, but you can use the larger paper, which you can buy from the lab, and print at 11 by 14. And if you're really ambitious, you can even print 16 by 20 now. And we have 17 by 22 inch paper. But you have to have a large enough file. All right, thank you guys.